I mean, we have such a large crowd. Just give yourself a hand.
Good evening, Rhonda.
Good evening. I really want to start off by
Being
thanking
recorded already.
each and every person for attending. Tonight, of course, is National Night Out, so we have a lot of competitive things that we're dealing with, but I just definitely feel that who's here is supposed to be here, and what I would definitely like to press upon you is that you go out and share the information that you hear today, right? Go out and share that information and ensure that individuals are understanding each candidate in the most professional way as possible. That's the purpose of us being here today, is to give everyone a platform, a fair platform to hear the candidates. I would say that every candidate was invited. We have 5 candidates. 2 did not respond. One originally said that they had to work, but then they said that their daughter had a prior engagement, and however, we have 2 that did respond. And so I want you to know that this is it was a very fair platform, that everyone had the opportunity to get the invitation to attend, and because that's my goal of wanting people to have the opportunity to hear and vet candidates from the district. Again, I thank you. I thank you all for attending, because I know your schedules are busy, especially with being National Night Out. I'm sure that you were invited to some other entities and some other events that you could have attended, and we'll do our best to ensure that we wrap up in a timely manner so that you may still attend those events as well. The common goal is to focus on the common ground. I think I've ran for the school board before, and I think it's very important to ensure that the voices that feel that they're not heard are actually heard. And so please feel free. There may be some times where you're allowed to ask questions. We have a moderator that's going to make sure that the questions are asked and that they're timed. So we want to respect that particular entity of the program, but there may be an opportunity for you to ask questions, but please be respectful. Please make sure that your questions are geared toward the district and not a personal, and I'll just be honest, attack, okay? Because our goal is to ensure that everyone has a safe platform to discuss and share why they're running. Although we as individuals may not agree with why they're running, but that's their right to share with you why they're running for the district. But again, I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule. Again, for future events before election, I would definitely like for you to share those events and invite other people to come out. I think it's important that we increase our voting ratings for people to share. I know that when it's not an election period, a presidential election period, oftentimes our voting rating is low. But we want to increase the voting ratings. We want to ask people to vote. We want to share with them the importance of voting. And it's not about who we want them to vote for, but them getting out to learn about candidates and to vote for who they feel will represent their family in a fair manner. Is that fair? All right, y'all know I'm a talking person now. I am the Southern country girl. Now I'm going to ask you to speak now. I'm going to ask you to clap your hands and speak up now. Clap your hands, please, if you hear me. But it's all in fun. I definitely want us to take this event serious, but I definitely want us to kind of unwind a little bit. Hear what people have to say, okay? Hear what people have to say. Unwind. Take the tension off. And truly, truly open your mind, open your ears for an opportunity to hear what you're looking for, okay? And without further ado, we have Justin Bumpy Woodridge, who's running. We also have Jack, who's running, who are going to be our candidates that are in attendance today. The moderator at the close will allow them to give you more details of why they're running, but the moderator will ask some very detailed questions that she has, and often, like I said earlier, will allow the audience to ask a question or two if you choose to. But please don't feel strained or that you have to do that. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce our moderator, which is Yvonne
Ontiveros.
Yvonne has worked in the oil and gas industry for 30 years. She retired in 2019. She's currently involved in several ministries, including several ministries, among them encouraging people to get involved in the community and governmental issues, which is one of the reasons why we're here today. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to Yvonne, and Yvonne will be the voice that you hear who will moderate to the conclusion of our event. Thank you again.
Can we give the gentleman the handheld as well? Hand the handheld mic to them so they can answer. Just
Absolutely.
make sure everybody hears. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here and for investing in your children. And if you don't have children, thank you for checking out the taxes that you pay, because you do have a vested interest in here just as well. And I have the honor of moderating tonight, and Mr. Velasquez and Mr. Wildridge will be answering questions. I do have some preset questions, however, it is really important that we hear from you. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask a couple of questions, and then you will have an opportunity to ask your questions, and then we'll go back and forth and make it as interactive as possible. Anyone have any questions so far? Well, okay, well, great. Mr. Velasquez, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Wildridge, just as well. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for giving us your time. Appreciate it. My first question is going to be for Mr. Velasquez. Why are you running for the school board, and what are your qualifications?
So why am I running for school board? Well, first and foremost, I have 3 children that currently attend the schools. I have one in fifth grade, one in 4th grade, and one in 2nd grade. I have two other children who are Klein alumni. I myself am a Klein alumni. And I feel called to run.
I'm sorry, can you get it closer?
I feel called to run because I see things in the district that are concerning. I see budgeted deficits over the last 3 years that are not being addressed by the school board.
I'm so sorry. Can you speak a little bit louder? They really want to hear you.
Okay, I see the last.
Can you speak to the back of the room, not to her?
Okay, I've seen the school board pass deficited budgets over the last 3 years. And that's very concerning, because when that happens and we continue to pass budgets, it becomes a pattern. And what stems from that pattern is 2 results. Either we're going to have higher taxes or loss of services. I'm also running because I feel like safety is a big concern in the school district. I see a fight policy, which I do not agree with. I think that every adult in our district should be able to separate children physically, and if it requires training, then we should do that. We shouldn't have to sit there and let someone break up a fight we're calling for a vice principal or a principal. I mean, we have to have common sense policies and ensure we're protecting our kids.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Mr. Wildridge, same question. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
So, my name is Justin Bumpy Wildridge, and I am running for the Board of Trustees on some simple things, really. Transparency, first and foremost. There was some transitions that were made from last year when we first brought up that topic, and they did put a tab on the landing page, but now it's the links don't work. So, still need some transparency.
I'm sorry.
Is that
We are
bugging
having
everybody?
some issues. We're trying to figure out what it is right now.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, just talk loud. Let's see how it goes. Can you talk without?
Yes, I can talk without it. Can everybody hear me okay?
Is it me?
Okay, so you just want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. So transparency was one big one from last year as well. Klein's made some steps to improve on that, but it's still not 100%. The processes in place right now, if you want information, you don't get it. It's blocked. Seems to be the first step is going to the DA and trying to get your information request blocked. I don't think that speaks well for transparency unless you're trying to hide something. And we need to be accountable for our actions. So I've seen a lot in the district where a lot of things have happened and there is zero accountability. Nobody steps up and says, we messed up. And in fact, I've been through quite a bit with the district, and I actually got apologized to, or my family did, for the first time ever for something that happened, and that was an absolute shock to me. So we need transparency, accountability. We need to address the teacher turnover rate and the teacher burnout rate that is currently going on in our district.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. We'll have opportunities to talk
Okay.
about that again. Okay, my next question to you, Mr. Velasquez, is what do you think are the top 3 issues facing our school district, and how would you address them?
Well, safety, as I just mentioned, is a major concern for me, having 3 young boys. I think if we have safe learning environments, the students are going to learn better. If we have safe learning environments, our teachers are going to respond better and want to be in our district. The best teachers want to work and be supported and feel protected. Safe campuses will bring strong teachers, and strong teachers bring success. Fiscal responsibility obviously is probably my second thing. I feel like we have to be stewards of the things that we are entrusted with, and we should be stewards of what the people have voted for. The people are paying this money, and we should be respectful of the people that are paying, and ensure that their money is spent accordingly. And the other thing is, I think we need to bring accountability back to board. I see a board that constantly votes in unison. I think the board is supposed to be the checks and balances to the administration, not an extension. But at the same time, we have to work with the administration to ensure that we are delivering common sense policies that make sense, that are strengthening the schools in learning, in safety, and accountability.
Okay, very well, thank you. Mr. Wooldridge, do you need me to repeat the question?
Please.
What do you think are the top 3 issues facing our school district, and how would you address them?
First and foremost, safety and security. Again, I know the district has spent quite a bit of money with vestibules and stuff like that for entry, but that's only as good as the people that are pushing the button to let you in. And being to several campuses in the district, including central office, you can push the button and they buzz you right in, or someone holds the door open and 3 more people walk in. So that's really not it. It's not the answer. Safety and security also extends to the students and the teachers. We have to be able to keep our teachers safe from the students and safe from each other, and we have to be able to keep the students safe inside the school. So, which goes back to a lot of other things that are going on, that teachers working out of fear is not a safe working environment. And that seems to be the big fear factor. That seems to be the big factor in Klein, is working out of fear. And what I've learned is, if you're running a company or you have a certain set policy, but you're leading out of fear and it trickles down, employees are going to work just hard enough to keep their job, as opposed to going that step further. We have broken policies in this district that need to be addressed immediately. Some have been addressed twice in a year's time, and the student was never brought to the forefront of those policies. It took into account everything else. Nothing took into account the student. And so, which brings me to my third point of student needs to be first.
Okay. Well, you'll have more opportunities to answer that question. I'm going to start with you right now, and it's kind of like continuing the question. What do you think are the top 3 issues in public education?
Well, I would say first and foremost, teaching to the STAR test, which is huge right now, which I know goes per House Bill 10, I believe it was, goes out 26, 27 school year. No longer teaching to the STAR test, but that's an issue right now that needs to be addressed. What was the question again? I was looking at something in my notes.
No problem.
And I forgot.
What do you think are the top 3 issues of public education?
So, again, top 3 issues, public education. Okay, so child should be the first and foremost in every decision that's made in the district. Teaching these kids to be well-rounded students and individuals that can be contributing members of society, and not teaching to a test. And we're all about data collection these days in the district. So we're teaching the data and we're collecting data, instead of teaching other things that these kids should be learning to be more well-rounded human beings.
Excellent. Mr. Velasquez, do you need for me to repeat the question for you?
No, I think first and foremost, I think the job is the school is to prepare these kids to do whatever they want to do going forward, whether that is academically and continuing their academic education in a college, whether it be vocational learning, electrician, plumber, electrician or AC, HVAC person. So we should be preparing these kids for the future. And I see, like what Bumpy was saying, that sometimes we're more interested in ensuring these kids pass these certain tests. I think the school voucher system is going to be an issue coming forward for the public school system, because now you're going to have parents that are going to be able to send their kids wherever they want. And I think if Klein ISD wants to be successful, we have to ensure that we are selling the best product, that we are providing a safe school that's well balanced with a learning environment that's showing a proven track record for keeping these kids to do what they want, whether it be college, whether it be a vocational trade. And lastly, I think it's retaining our teachers. I think we've seen Sci-Fair recently poaching teachers from Klein and vice versa, but we have to provide an environment that shows that we put our teachers first and foremost, as they spend more time with our kids than we do. So we need to ensure that we are doing everything we can to fully support the teachers. You know, they're the lifeblood. They are the what is driving and teaching our kids and preparing them for the future. So I think those three things.
Excellent. Thank you to both of you. Right now, we have an opportunity for anyone here to ask a question. So do we have volunteers? Okay, not everybody at once. Okay, yes, please. Give me a second to get over there.
Oh, it's okay. I think they can hear me.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Velasquez, you had posted on Facebook some issues about the budget deficit during the year. And I asked some questions how you would propose that you cut expenses to bridge that gap. And you also alluded to revenue or profit, and I didn't understand what that really meant. So can you explain?
So there's revenues and products. Obviously, the revenue is twofold, right? You have the taxes that are collected, then there's the state money, right, and property tax or school taxes. That's the revenue, and then expenditures is obviously everything from that includes the teacher salaries, the operational cost, right? So we have to ensure that the money we're taking in is more than the money that we're spending. Propose to fix it, I think, you know, from a business standpoint, what we do in business, when we're in a deficit, we have to look at the two biggest things, which is overhead and expenses. So we need to look at expenses and see what do we have to have versus what we want to have when we're in deficit, right? When times are good, but when it's time to strap the budget, we have to look at things. In my company, we do the same thing. When times are tough, they tell us, don't travel unless you have to, don't take vendors to lunch unless you have to. You have to look at things. Do we need to buy that? Is that something we can wait on? Those are the main things. Does that make sense?
Of course it makes sense, but where would the cuts be?
You have to look.
You consider this?
I looked at the overhead. I mean, I think if you look at the overhead, it looks pretty heavy. If you look at, there's 250 administrative positions over the schools, which that's fine, that's the principals. You've got another 257 at main office. You look at Klein Sci-Fair ISD, they run at 3.4% personnel to other personnel is budgets. I think if you look at Klein, we're at 5.4. But we are literally a third of the size of Klein Sci-Fair, yet we're running almost, not quite, but almost double on that end.
So where does the revenue and profit come from?
The revenue comes from our taxes and comes from the state.
So you propose a tax increase?
If we don't get the budget under control, that's the natural step. Either you have to raise taxes or you have to reduce services, but you can't keep running a deficit. So I think we need to be fiscally responsible and balance the budget. I saw Magnolia ISD just announced they balanced theirs. You know.
Can I step in and add something to that?
Actually, it's perfect timing because her question was a segue into ours. So go ahead, please.
So just in addition to that, we've already seen and I think last year was a prime example. There's already been certain curriculum that funding has been pulled for. And if you notice at the beginning of every school year, teachers are putting out wish lists, need lists for their classrooms. So ample money is not going to where it needs to be. My wife is a teacher in the district, and she goes out before every school year, and she buys hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of supplies for kids that show up and don't have those type of supplies. So, and then pathway classes that Klein ISD offers, CTE pathway classes. There was classes last year, phlebotomy classes, where they're supposed to practice, sticking needles into a fake arm, and then so many sticks before they get to a live arm. And they didn't have needles. They didn't have practice equipment. So it was donated by outside sources. It was not provided by the school. So stuff like that, budget cuts have already started to come in there, and it's still not enough. So in my opinion, that tells me that we have to look at the next step, and that would be, you have to look at your overhead. If you're already cutting expenditures here, and which we've seen, and it's not going to the classroom and to the teachers that need it, then to supply the proper working environment for their students, then you have to start looking at the overhead across the board. And last year, Klein stayed flat when it came to teacher increased pay, stayed flat across the teachers, but central office pay increased by over $1 million. So that in and of itself tells me that we have a very large amount of overhead at central office, as he alluded to the number of people in central office. And I know that from talking to Cy-Fair, we have more people in our HR department than they have in their HR department, and they are more than twice our size. So I'm trying to figure out how that math makes sense to have more than double the amount in HR with a total number of students and teachers and faculty of half the size of what they are. And that just doesn't seem to make sense.
Okay, so our question was, in case you have something to add to it, our question was, in the face of potential funding cuts, what are your budget's priority? So Mr. Velasquez, did you want to add anything?
The priority should always be the teachers. I mean, that's the first and foremost. It's where I work, I try to explain to my employees that our manufacturing employees are the lifeblood of our industry. They're the ones that are generating revenue. Likewise, in the schools, the teachers are there teaching our students, preparing them. That is the lifeblood. That should be the priority always, is the teachers.
Okay, Mr. Wooldridge, did you want to add to that?
Oh, I agree. The teachers are where the rubber meets the road. And if we're not equipping our teachers with what they need, then we're stymied from the beginning. And so we have a very high teacher burnout rate. We have a very high teacher turnover rate. We are hiring non-certified teachers to take the place of tenured certified teachers. And as again, I'll use Cy-Fair as an example, we have more than twice the amount of non-certified teachers that they do, and they're more than twice our size. So we're almost a revolving door, and we're a farm club. So we train them up, we get them to where they're tenured teachers, they snatch them up, take them from us. And I've personally seen that with my wife and her team. It's a different set of people every year. People are leaving for their own sanity reasons, not wanting to work under fear. And so yeah, that's where Is that the buzzer?
Yeah, that was it. Okay.
It was an interesting buzzer.
Mr. Velasquez, still on the budget, how will you ensure the district's budget is transparent and financially sustainable?
I mean, I don't know. I've read their budgets and I've looked at them, and it is pretty difficult process to discern. Even with my background, I do have a business degree with a specification in supply chain. I understand it's a different type of budget because it's not like a for-profit company. It is a government entity, so they typically have to spend everything they use. I'm sorry, what was the exact?
How will you ensure the district budget is transparent and financially sustainable?
I mean, for me, I think it would be easier if it was a little bit easier or put more in layman's terms on the website so that someone who doesn't have any accounting background or a business degree could discern. Very simple, where the money's going, who's going to, you know, very simple. Here's our revenue, here's our expense, just in a top bullet line, not all the full breakdown like you have when you go look at the budget online now.
Okay, great. Mr. Wooldridge, did you need me to repeat the question?
No, I think we're good. As far as budget transparency goes, every other surrounding district that touches us, it's one click away on a website. Klein ISD is, the link is there, but when you click on it, everything that comes up as far as the check registry and where the money's going is, you get a big thing that says, you know, for fear of cyber attack, we are not posting this information.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to add to that because I was the one who saw what happened when I started asking questions about why Klein ISD was paying tens of thousands of dollars to Harvard University, and I wanted those checks, copies of those checks and what we were paying for. And we were digging into the check registers and all of a sudden they were swiped from being online, and a new message popped up that said, we have removed all check registers because we are afraid of a cyber attack. And nothing has changed. That was in 2021. So, in my opinion, as a community member, complete transparency from the district would be putting the check registers back online. We've asked many times.
And I agree, and that's part of it, you know, making it where it's a simple mouse click away like our neighboring districts do. There's an accountability system that the district owes to the constituents of the district, and I think that that's a pretty fair one to ask for. That way there's no hidden agenda, hidden money, everything's right there in the open, and the book should balance at the end of the day. So I think that about takes care of transparency. As far as sustainability, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Teachers are the forefront of what we do, so we need to give teachers control back over their classrooms and not teach the data and not just simply collect data. When we're doing that and not teaching to the test, we have to get back to allowing teachers to own their classrooms again. And once we do that, then we can see where the specialists are needed. If any other specialists are needed to come in, we can figure it out from the ground level and work our way up. And that'll truly tell us where we start. I think right now, if you try to dig into it, it's so convoluted, you don't really know what's what and where things lie, because there is so much information jumbled together that it's, sure, you can see dollars going here and pay going there, whatever the case may be, but it's, oh.
Okay,
Sorry.
excellent. Does anybody have a question about the budget? We're going to move on from this topic, so this is your moment. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to know if these gentlemen have requested to come and look at it if it's a cyber attack they're worried about. Just for them to look at it, because they are the ones that are very concerned that they wouldn't be running. There has to be an alternative for us to have confidence in the current administration.
Which of you
And I
would
can
like to
answer
start?
that. There was a request put in last year for full transparency and for everything, and it was very convoluted, very drawn out, and the information that was received eventually, which I don't recall exactly how long it was, but I know it was several months.
We had to go to Ken Paxton's office to request
Correct.
it because the FOIA process, they denied it. I requested updated financials, and they play games with you in the process of the FOIA when you request the information. They refuse to answer. They will ask you one, accrued year, or calendar year, fiscal year. They ask questions about that, and then so it's like a volley back and forth questions. And they don't, they don't respond. So they do everything in their power not to give you the information, and then you have to go to Ken Paxton's office to get it. So it's really kind of, not very transparent and not very good in that sense. So it's just a game to them. They deflect, and that's on all ways. I requested information on what the Harvard training was for. Recently, they won't tell you, like it's none of your, like they don't have to disclose that. So it's just a game to them, deflect until you have to go to Ken Paxton's office, and Ken Paxton calls and says, hey, can you please, and they will or may not give you information. So.
As far as I'm concerned, you know what, if we have the money, I'm okay with giving everything we can for our students. My youngest son, he's a SPED student. He has Asperger's, and I appreciate everything the district's doing for him. I mean, it's amazing to see the progress he's made. And I do love this district, that's why I'm running this. But I also think that to be fair, look, when we have the money, let's spend it. But when we don't have the money, that's when tough decisions are made. And we have to make them to be fiscally responsible. We have to do it in my company. We just recently laid off 30 people yesterday, right? So it's something, and it's an unfortunate part that has to happen. But what we can't do is just continue to spend money that we don't have. If me and my wife were to lose, God forbid one of us lose our job, we couldn't just continue to spend the way we are when we're both working. We have to adjust to the budgets. So if the state is taking money for us, well then great, let's get the top administration to go fight with our representatives to get us more money, right? If that's what it's gonna take. But we can't just continue to spend money we don't have and impact eventually us, the people who vote for these people. That's why I'm running. I feel like I should be a voice of the people, not a voice that just goes along with everyone else. So that's my feelings on the money that's spent,
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on from the budget. Okay, so my next question is, how will you engage with parents and the community to improve our public schools? Mr. Wooldridge, please.
Well, I think a perfect example is what happened over the summer. One of our board members held a town hall meeting, which was very informative. Quite a large crowd. There was quite a large constituency of Klein ISD officials in that meeting, including Chief Reynolds from the Klein ISD Police. So I think something like that brought a lot of people out. There was a lot of discussion over certain topics. It was more of an open forum type meeting. General stuff like that. I'm getting calls at a rate of 3 to 5 a week right now from current employees of the district. And it's everything from, this happened to me, what should my next step be? And I try to give them the best advice I can, but unfortunately the policies that would govern that are broken. And you don't want to send them down that path, because then they're going to waste 70 to 120 days, and you might as well tell them that they're going to lose on day one. So it's, I think that engaging with the constituents, going out there, and truly following, I think where we could all start is Texas Open Meetings Act pretty much tells you how to conduct a board meeting. And if any of y'all have attended a board meeting, they're not open forum. It's, there's never any discussion. There's simple topics that are brought up. Somebody passes a motion,
Okay, thank you.
no discussion.
What about you, Mr. Velasquez?
I feel like we should engage with the community. We are elected by the community and a voice of the people. And as a voice of the people, we should represent what their wants are, as long as they don't conflict with anything that's ethically challenging. We should be a voice of what the people wants. That's what's concerning to me when I see a board that votes unanimously. Me and my wife, I don't think if you put 300 items in front of us, I don't think we could agree on every single one of them. I don't understand how these 7 people agree on everything. I would feel the board is being more responsible in its due diligence if I saw more votes where we see 5-2, 4-3. But when I see just 7-0, 7-0, 7-0, it doesn't seem like they are representing the will of people. You can't tell me that in a district as big as we have, that all these constituents agree with these elected officials, that they're voicing their opinion. No, I find it very disconcerting. I think that it should be the will of the people, and that's what our country was founded on, representation by the people. And our country is founded to have three independent bodies that are checks and balances, and that's what the board is supposed to be. The board is supposed to be our voice in the school districts that's keeping a balance between the two, right? I don't fault too much demonstration what they're doing. If they are asking for everything and the board is passing it, then it's the board's fault. That's my feelings.
Can I have an extension there?
Sure.
I just want to say that, you know, he brought up a good point there, that right now what we have in Klein, if you look at the board meetings, is it's complete taxation without representation. You have no chance of speaking in front of the board other than to sign up the day of a board meeting or prior to 10:30 a.m. that morning. If you miss it by a minute, you're done, you don't get to talk. But there is no open lines of communication in the board meeting. There is no discussion. And if you do sign up on time and you are allowed to speak, you get 2 minutes. 2 minutes to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, however egregious it is, whatever the case may be. Could be one of the broken policies that you're talking about. You get 2 minutes. And so 2 minutes is hardly enough time for a teacher, a parent, a constituent that's been in the process for 120 days already, going through everything and having to reiterate that to the board in 2 minutes time. That to me is complete taxation without representation, not getting to address your elected officials and tell your side of the story. And then when I've asked the district this question as to why there cannot be, why you can't get called into a closed door session to discuss, especially when it's FERPA protected information or if it's about a specific student, I was given the response that, and I have it recorded, the response was that we are not allowed to do that anymore.
Okay, time out.
And so,
Thank you.
Can I actually chime in on just,
Sure.
the reason why that's happened is because of me. I was one of the parents that actually had gone and escalated my issue to the TEA, and I was one of the lucky ones, and I say lucky, one of the lucky ones to have a closed board meeting about a situation like this that I have with my daughter. And because Klein ISD cannot produce a recorded or an audio recording of it, and the commissioner or the judge gave them, I think, like a week to find it, and their attorney came back and says, well, we can't locate anything, there is no recording. And so because they were cited for that, that's whenever they stopped meeting with parents behind closed doors at board meetings. It was because of my situation. So ever since that has happened, they haven't done it anymore. I was the last one.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
yes.
Other districts conducted board meetings, do they have a similar process with like a 2 or 3 minutes or then on discussion from parents and students?
So from attending a couple of other board meetings in neighboring districts, they have a similar process, but it's broken down by the number of people that are actually there to speak versus the time they allot for it. So it can be, in Klein, it's always 2 minutes. Klein ISD right now, it's 2 minutes, no matter if there's 2 people or 20 people, it's 2 minutes. Actually, if you got up to 20, they'd probably cut you back. It used to be a minute, and then they finally gave you that extra minute. So they do something similar, but they take the number of people, like I said, versus the time allotted for it, and they break it up accordingly. So there is another board, if you go to another board meeting, and I would encourage you to do so, go watch a Sci-Fair board meeting. There is participation from the Board of Trustees. They will actually ask questions, whether it be an agenda or a non-agenda item. For non-agenda items, it's a little bit more difficult because you're not supposed to engage too much per Texas Open Meetings Act, but you can ask a question. You can say, can I get more information on that? You can say, you said something here, can you repeat it? And that's something we don't get now. In fact, there was one instance where a board member did ask something and she was told immediately by the lawyer that she couldn't do that. And the penal code that she stated was the incorrect penal code to apply to that situation as well. So at the next board meeting, I got up and I spoke about that and how she was given misinformation to the board members. And that's another problem that I see that's going on, is we have the same legal team that represents the board as does the district. So there's a little bit of a conflict there, in my opinion. If you're supposed to be protecting the board members, you can give them certain information, but if you're also trying to protect the district at the same time through the same law firm, I think that's a huge conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next question we have for you is, how will you ensure teachers feel valued, respected, and have the support they need to be successful? Mr. Velasquez.
I think the teachers should know that the district has their best interests at heart and also has their back. You know, as far as, like I was talking about the fight policy, I feel like if a teacher does the right thing and separates the students, even though they're not physically supposed to touch any student, that they know the district is going to support them fully, that the district's lawyers are going to have that teacher's back and not put them on administrative leave or suspend them because they did the right thing. It's just a lack of common sense. I think the district in its heart is trying to do the right thing, but I think they're so scared of being sued by the child's parent for the teacher that we've lost just basic common sense. We shouldn't sit there and watch a child just get pummeled because they're not the right person to separate them, and we have to call either the security guard or the VP or the principal to run from wherever they are to separate the fight. I've interviewed some teachers and they tell me they can intervene as far as like trying to get in between, but as far as physically touching the student, they can't do that. So I think we've just, we have to know, the teachers have to know that we have their back. I think the other thing we could do is, I know we need to be physically responsible, but I think we need to find a way to balance that budget and also be able to support them with some supplies. I have 3 students, and every year I get 3 wish lists from these teachers asking them to support them with supplies. I, at my job, don't have to ask for supplies. That's something my company provides for me. I think that's something that we need to find a way to finagle the numbers.
Thank you. Mr. Wooldridge, do you need me to repeat
Please.
the question? Okay, how will you ensure teachers feel valued, respected, and have the support they need to be successful?
Well, I'd like to say it's pretty easy, but obviously it would have to be a board decision, and this current situation on the board, I mean, if I were elected, there's still, 6 other board members. So with that being said, I think one thing we need to do with the teachers to let them know, Jack mentioned it, we need to let them know that we have their back. We need to remove the administrative red tape and give the classrooms back to the teachers. We need to stop teaching for data and stop teaching to data, and instead, like I said before, we need to teach these kids to be responsible young humans, so they start learning life lessons as well and stop teaching to the test. We need to remove the fear factor. That's probably the biggest item. And we need to get rid of the busy work that the teachers are doing right now. And when I say busy work, right now all teachers have to have a lesson plan as a group submitted for review before the lessons start, before the week starts for the lessons to go. And I would bet dollars for donuts right now that those aren't even being looked at. Their administrators have too many other things on their plates to actually go through that with a fine-tooth comb and look at it. There's actually one school right now that was just called out by a dad for a teacher that decided to put something into the curriculum that was not in the TEAC or curriculum, and the school has now pulled that curriculum and has agreed not to initiate that book as part of the process.
Okay, thank you. By the way,
That's
I
so
don't know
much
if
more to
I
say.
explained this to you. These questions that I have are questions that people submitted for this forum. So there could be questions here that you submitted or not. So just wanted to make that clear. So if there is a question that you have that you thought we had and it's not in here, feel free to ask, please. Okay, one more question for you. What is your view on the distinct roles of the school board, policymaking, and the superintendent, which is the administration? Mr. Velasquez.
I think it should be collaborative. I think, the school board, should they be as a resource for the administration? I mean, it is the superintendent's district to run, but like I said, I think it's the school board's there to be a voice, to be the checks and balances, to be a sounding board for her, and also to be collaborative where they can be. I mean, That's where most of the people on the board are parents, have a vested interest. I have a vested interest for my 3 sons, ensuring that they have a safe learning environment. And I would hope that we're putting policies in place that are going to make them successful, that they feel safe and protected. You know, people, when they feel safe and protected, they learn at a higher rate. They're going to learn at a higher rate and retain things and be more productive students. And I hope that what we're ultimately doing is protecting these young women for life.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wooldridge, do you need me to repeat the question?
Please.
Okay, what is your view on the distinct roles of the school board, policymaking, and the superintendent administration?
Okay, so I'll start with the superintendent. The superintendent, I believe that their role is to be the CEO of the district, and as such should be involved in just about every aspect of the district. The board's role is to ensure that the CEO is staying on task and to work with the CEO to make sure that the constituents' voices are being heard and the ship is still headed in the right direction. So I don't think the superintendent's role, the superintendent should be giving plausible deniability when it comes to a broken policy that we have in place in Klein right now, which is the F&G and DGBA policy. That was one of the amendments that was made there's the policy that's been amended twice within a year's time, and with one of those amendments, the superintendent was taken out of that policy and it was replaced with the chief of schools. And as the CEO, and being in a CEO role in my past, I wanted to know everything that was going on in the company, know good, bad, wrong, indifferent, anything and everything in every department. So to pull yourself out of that equation and to pull yourself out of that role and leaving call it the will of the people that have an issue, the people that have a problem, that are, excuse me, that are bringing it before the district, to not want to know about that. I don't know any CEO that would not want to know about that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you are one voice, but the board makes decisions. Can you speak to your ability to build consensus when your opinion is in the minority? Mr. Wooldridge, do you want to start that one?
I can. I think as a board member, if my opinion was in the minority, but it was something that I felt strongly on or had strong conviction on, ethically, morally, I would look at all the compasses that I use on a day-to-day basis, whether it be ethical and moral compass, and I would try to just open up for conversation. The problem is that you can't really open up for conversation because then that establishes a quorum with the rest of the board. So then it becomes a whole process of having to announce it 72 hours in advance and everything else. You can't really go around talking to individual members of the board either, because that's a process that's not allowed as well. So it makes it difficult, but from a standpoint, if our board meetings did open up and did allow open discussion and my opinion was in the minority, I think a simple conversation. I want to hear what your reasons are as to why you feel this way, and I'm going to tell you my reasons as to why I feel this way. And in that open forum where it should be discussed, there's only 4 reasons that you should not be discussing something in a public forum. Everything else should be right out there in the open for all the constituents and all the people in the boardroom to hear, and have that conversation. That's where that conversation is meant to take place. That's where it should take place, and have an open conversation and try to communicate. I don't think the word convincing is the right word to use, because people have their own opinions and people have their own ethical and moral compasses that they live by. But at the same token, I think an open platform conversation for everyone to express their views, their opinions, is the best way to go.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Velasquez, do you need for me to repeat the question?
No, because I've been thinking about this question a lot, because I felt like, if elected, it is something I would face that I would probably be, just looking at the voting history of the board, I would hope. I think that might be in the minority sometimes. I think I'd be in agreement on other things when policies make sense, but we have to find common ground. I mean, I think everybody is there for the right reason. We want the best for our children and the best school district, and we want to see our district be the top, right? We want to say we're better than Tomball, we're better than Cy-Fair. So I've been thinking about this a lot. If elected, hopefully to meet so they can see maybe my perspective. I come from a different upbringing. I think I'd be the first Hispanic ever elected if I was. So a different culture, you know. Maybe I could find the common ground with them they could see that these constituents and I've talked to, and this is what they want, and maybe build something to convince them that we need to vote for this or we need to change this policy.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
You brought up the fear factor a number of times that teachers are feeling.
Yes, sir.
In the work environment. I don't know if I need that or not.
If you want it.
In order for a school district to thrive, the teachers have to feel that they are valued and that they are safe in their environment and they are open to giving an opinion. Where is the fear factor coming from? What has happened? I was 19 years as an administrator in the district, and there may have been some retaliation along the way. I did not hear about it. But where is the fear factor coming from, in your opinion, that teachers are feeling?
Well, Mr. Huff, you were actually my administrator when I graduated, and I believe he was one of your administrators as well when you graduated. But the fear factor, in my opinion, is a trickle-down effect. So I don't believe that it's in the local schools. I don't think it's the administration of local schools. I think the fear factor comes down from central office. It's the pressure that the central office is putting on the teachers, and the question then becomes, how is it getting to central office level and how is it developing there? And like I would say with any company, you have to look to the top first and look down and see. You can usually find where it starts and how it trickles down, but fear is always a trickle-down effect. So in my opinion, it's starting at central office level or higher. And I don't believe it's local administration at the local schools. They wouldn't be leading that way unless they were taught to lead that way. So I think it's coming from much higher up the food chain. Does that answer your question?
Sure. One of the things that's happening now is HR is putting teachers on administrative leave. Not sure that's the proper way for that to be handled. I hate to say when I was a principal, but I will invoke that. The principal put the teacher on administrative leave. The principal would hire, and if need be, the principal would put the teacher on administrative leave. Now it appears that HR is doing that.
Correct.
In your tenure, if you were elected, would you work to change that?
Well, I think that you have to empower your local administration at the schools to be able to deal and handle with their employees, right? With their direct reports, just like in any business. So I would like to see it that way. Right now, it goes up, there's a chain of command, I guess you could call it, and I've been in several instances where we've had to go up the chain of command, and what you hear from the local school administrators is that I have to run this through central office, or this is a central office decision to make. It's never a local decision to make. And so I think that definitely a change should be required where the local principal can make that decision. And I think if we would have made that decision, if that was the case in Klein ISD, we wouldn't have had the issue we had last year with the Klein-Cain situation. I think if you had an employee that comes to you and says, this other employee is doing this, then they can rule it from there, and we wouldn't have spent 14 months with a teacher that was accused of trafficking, only to find out that it was truly trafficking 14 months later. But with the administrative process, the more pieces that you have in that puzzle, the more fail points you have along the way. So if you can streamline that process and you can make it where the principal can make that decision on their own, I think it streamlines that process and makes it much more immediate and efficient in the overall scheme.
Thank you.
You mentioned broken policies. Other than the ones that you mentioned, are there any additional broken policies that you want to address, or just that?
I think that that is the biggest policy that we have in our district. If you really look at it, that is the teacher, student, parent, constituent. That's their last course of recourse. That's their last opportunity for recourse against the district. And that is the most broken policy that we have. The original policy that was in place, a year and a half ago, you have your level 1, your level 2, your level 3, which was supposed to be an independent third party, and then there was a recommendation made to the board, and you got 2 minutes to speak to the board. Every other neighboring district that we have, Tomball, Cy-Fair, when you get to a level 3, you're in front of the board. You are now getting represented for the taxes that you're paying. We don't have that. We don't have that at all. And so that policy should be the most important policy that we're looking at right now in the district, in my opinion. It's, I know there's several teachers that have contacted me that are going through the policy. I know all of their outcomes because I've been to the board meetings or watched the board meetings and seen the outcomes. And that's a predetermined policy for failure. It's totally skewed in Klein ISD's favor. It clearly states that each party is responsible for their own expenses, yet Klein ISD picks who the third-party hearing officer is. That term changed from independent hearing officer to non-Klein ISD employee. Even with that, if you go back and look at who they were using before, it was former Klein ISD employees. And then when they changed it, all of a sudden it became friends of higher level people in the district. And when I asked that question as to why that was going on, I was told that I thought you'd be happy that it wasn't a former Klein ISD employee. But yet it was a former subordinate to the person that told me that. So yes, that policy is huge. And if that policy worked, I wouldn't have a book at home that has 350 plus names of Klein ISD teachers, employees that have called me to ask me what my opinion is and which direction they should go. There's where the fear factor comes into play as well, because they don't want to take that step because they know it's a long, egregious step. And when I was in school, which was a long time ago now, but it was a very short 3-step process. And you could start from having a complaint or a grievance against somebody to full resolution with the board and or the superintendent within a week's time period. Week to 7 days. So 5 to 7 school days. And you had full resolution at that point. And I think Pat can attest to that, because that was something that happened at Klein ISD when I was there.
I have one more question.
Yes, it's just about, you both grew up in Klein ISD, correct? What have you seen change since the time you graduated?
For me, I don't think we should go back to where I was at, because when I came through Klein ISD, there was a different discipline standard. And if you messed up, there was still corporal punishment. So I don't think we need to go back that far, but I do think, I've thought about this too, because I've been thinking about the fight policy, because I think about my sons and I worry about their safety. And I think, I've always believed in 3 strikes. I believe if you get in a fight once, you continue to go to school, you get to fight twice, you go to the alternative school, and if you fight there, well then the district has to make the hard measure and protect the welfare of the many. So that's where I come from it. I mean, I think I think the district's just so scared of being sued that we've lost that sight of, we need to do what's best for the children. And I'm sorry, if I was a teacher and I was working there and I saw students fighting, I'm going to jump in and stop them. I'm going to think about, I've always told my employees that work for me, I always tell them, look, if you do the right thing, I will fall on the sword for you. Now, if you're in the wrong, I'll be the first to fire you. But if you're doing the right thing, then I'm going to do everything I can. And I think the district should approach it this way. If the teacher is doing the right thing, then the district should have their back. And if the teachers know that, I think we'll attract more teachers. I think teachers will want to stay. The so-called fear that they're talking about, I think, you know, it's a different work environment when you know that your boss has your back. Like they're going to take care of you if you know you're doing the right thing.
Mr.
Were you
Wilbur?
asking that to me as well?
You both
Yeah.
wrote here, correct?
Yeah.
What changes have you seen in the last 30 years?
In the last 30 years, so a lot of changes. A lot more concrete, a lot less trees. But I think the biggest thing in regards to the school, obviously I have one child that just graduated last year and is off at college. I have another one that's a sophomore at Klein Oak. So I can only go off of, say, the last 18 years, what I've seen actually in the school district. And the biggest thing that I've seen is the lack of enforcement of the student code of conduct, the lack of enforcement of the teacher code of conduct, and the lack of enforcement of the district code of conduct. And I think that those are all three key things that need to be put back into play, because if we do that, I think it's going to bring everything back to where it needs to be. If the students are held responsible for their actions, and keeping a kid in ISS for a month while they're waiting on a DAEP placement is not the right way to do it. So if we have that many troublemakers in the district, then we need to increase the size of DAEP. It's just that simple. So if there's not instant consequences, it's kind of like smacking your dog if they peed on the floor, 2 days before. It has to be immediate, it has to be prompt. So hold the students accountable, hold the teachers accountable, and hold the district accountable for upholding their end for the code of conduct. And to go back to what Jack was talking about, the fight policy, there are ways that you can put your hands on these children and be covered. PBIS is instructed to do that way. If you're part of the PBIS team at these schools, you are trained on how to restrain a child. So it's also SPED teachers are trained on that. SPED, I guess you would call it SPED operation, and SPED employees are trained that way as well. There's no reason why that can't be employed across the board with all teachers. We have a Klein ISD police department. The police department is well-versed in all these techniques. There's no reason why one of their continuing education units that they have to take over the summer could not be that type of a program for restraint to minimize the fights. I just wanted to throw that in on top of what he had mentioned on the fight policy. But
I'm hearing a lot about what's wrong with the district. What's right with the district?
Well, I think there's a lot of things right with the district. I think we do have a lot of very good teachers that have been here for a very long time. So teacher retention was good for a very long time. I received a call last week from a 29-year veteran teacher. And her situation was kind of out of control. It seems to have rectified itself. But so we do have a lot of teachers that are still sticking around, that are sticking it out. I don't know if they're just working to that, 80, 90. I think they just changed it from 80 to 90, but years of service and age. But so we do have a lot of good teachers. We do have a lot of good programs. The CTE pathways, I think, are outrageous. I think it's a great plan. I think that should be enough in of itself to be in an open enrollment district like we are. That should be enough to attract people from neighboring districts, because some districts don't offer that, or don't offer it to the extent that we do. And I think that in of itself is a huge plus for Klein ISD. And whoever came up with that idea for those CTE pathways and passing out certificates needs a pat on the back, because that was a great idea. But I think we need to do more of that type of stuff. And if we can involve that in across the board and fund it properly, then I think that when the voucher system does come into play 26-27 school year, I think that people are going to if we clean up our own house, clean up our own yard, clean up our own issues and our own problems, get our budget in line, and have our CTE pathways that are very clearly defined, and people know they can graduate from high school with a certificate, that they can immediately go into the workforce and work with that certificate as a phlebotomist, as a pharmacy technician, as a welder. I think that's huge positives for Klein ISD that will attract people that we may lose that are on the fence with the voucher system right now.
Thank you. Hopefully that answers all the questions.
Well, you want to hear?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
If I didn't love this district, I wouldn't be running. I grew up here. I went to Roth. I went to Hildebrandt. I graduated from Klein Oak. My daughters graduated from Klein, and they're flourishing. I've just seen some changes, some things that I find concerning, and I think diversity of thought can be a strength, not a weakness. And so I'm hoping that, you know, my expertise could lend to that and bring some difference of thought instead of what it looks like groupthink. Like I said, the board is what I see fault. If the administration is putting a budget and the board keeps it approved, it's not the administration, it's the board. The board should be saying, no, we can't approve that budget, you need to get it in line, right? So that's where I'm looking at. But I love the district. I love what they did for my son. My youngest son, like I told you, he's got SPED, and he got kicked out of 3 schools before. When he was 3, 4, and 5, he got kicked out. We sent him to private schools, and he got kicked out because we didn't know that he had Asperger's. And since then, we tested him before he went to Bernshausen, and they've done great. So I love what they're doing for him. And my oldest son, he's at Ulrich, you know, and I just want to make sure he's in a safe environment. You know, it's concerning, like at Ulrich, it's concerning right now. He changed how he dressed recently because, and I understand 6th grade is a different thing, but they're running through the halls and pulling people's shorts down. So now he's wearing jogging pants because he's scared that they're going to run through and yank his pants down. I just, you know, I think we just need to make some common sense changes, and not so we're much, you know, about getting sued for doing the wrong thing. I mean, that's why we have lawyers, and my second oldest is a lawyer. So, you know, I do love the district, or I wouldn't be running.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Okay, well, you've heard from the candidates. We're going to have closing statements, 2 minutes for each. And at the end of that, Rhonda will come back, and we'll take it from there. Mr. Velasquez, would you like to start?
Yes. So as I close, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share my vision for Klein ISD. My name, once again, is Jack Velasquez, and this district has been my home for my entire life. I graduated from the Klein schools. My family works here. My children are alumni, and 3 of my sons walk the same halls I once did. And I want to make sure their future and the future of every student is even brighter. This campaign isn't about politics, it's about people. It's about supporting our teachers with tools and the pay they deserve, protecting our students with safe and disciplined learning environments, and ensuring our tax dollars are spent responsibly and transparently. I believe the board should represent the will of the people and not act as a rubber stamp. That while I ask the hard questions, push for accountability, and vote against deficit budgets that put our future at risk. Most importantly, I'll remain visible and approachable, meeting with parents, students, and teachers, so their voices guide my decisions. And as a follower of Jesus Christ, I will lead with integrity, honesty, and a servant's heart, because I believe we are called to be good stewards of what we've been entrusted with. Together, we can ensure Klein ISD continues to be a place of excellence for generations to come. I humbly ask for your trust, your vote, your support, and your prayers. Thank you, and God bless you.
Mr. Wooldridge, please.
I was already clapping for myself.
Oh, okay.
So as obviously 46-year resident of Klein ISD, there's a lot of great coming up through this district, and there's just been some things over the last few years that I've seen sliding, and I'd like to take a deeper dive into that. And so last year I felt like I was being called to run for the board, and I did. Was not successful at it, but this year I felt the calling again, and so I'm back up here. It's a district that, like I said, I grew up in, went to 4 of the different schools in the district, multiple siblings that came up through the district, and they're all prospering now as adults. So there's a lot of good in this district. I want to see the good continue to grow. I want to see the bad to start to diminish. And like I said, I think I want, I know I want more transparency and accountability, and that's where I think that the big issue, we can stop a lot of this in its tracks before it ever gets to that point. And that starts with the board. You have to have a diverse train of thought on the board. You have to have the ability to speak your mind. You have to have the ability to be able to listen and hear what other people are having to say. And from what I've gathered through, the process, those conversations don't take place prior to the board, and they don't take place at the board. So my main question is, where are they taking place? And a former board member told me that basically they get a phone call, they're told what the agenda is going to be, and that's where it stops. And I hardly think that that's a way that we should run the district. I think the district should be well informed of all the stuff, all the items that are coming before it for vote or for discussion. I think that discussions should happen. I know there's rules with quorums and everything else, so it might not be possible because anything should be in the open forum unless it's one of the 4 protected issues that cannot be discussed in open forum. But I do.
Go ahead, finish your
But I do love Klein. That's why we decided to stay here. That's why we put down roots here, and that's why our roots have been here for 46 years. So I just humbly ask for your vote. I think that, again, the trainings that I've received along the way through my corporate background, negotiation skills, communication skills, conflict resolution skills, and fiscal financial responsibility skills, I think are all skills that could be useful at the board level in any district and in any conversation. And so with that being said, humbly ask for your vote, and continue to pray that the district sees where the issues lie and continues to work towards a resolution on those.
Thank you. Well, this is the end of the forum. They've given you their input. You can ask them, are you going to be available a few minutes after?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. You can ask them questions that you didn't dare to ask.